Hello, fifth grade. Today we're going to go over common mistakes made when completing problems involving finding the volume of rectangular prisms. Now, mistakes are proof that you are learning. I am glad to see that you are all trying so hard with this. We learn from our mistakes. You are doing an incredible job, and in order to get better at finding volume of rectangular prisms, we have to review your mistakes. Now, in this first problem, it's asking you how many cubic units is this 3D figure. That means you need to find the volume. Now, it's very interesting. For this problem, I got a lot of 18, and I don't know if it's because you're just counting the outside cubes that you see, but volume is how many cubes are created, what is inside of that rectangular prism. So in order to find the volume, it's how much space is in an object. So even though you can't see all of the cubes inside that create this rectangular prism, that's why you have to identify the length, the width, and the height first. So my length here is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. My width is 2 units. And my height here is 3 units. So now all I'm going to do is now do 4 times 2 times 3. That's all you're doing. Now again, taking this step by step. 4 times 2 is 8 times 3. And now we are left with 24 units cubed. 24 cubic units is all correct answers here. As you can see in the answer choices here, these are all ways that you can write it with the unit of measurement. Notice 18 unfortunately is not the correct answer. You have to make sure you're including your length times your width times your height. There still is a whole layer behind here that you fully can't all see. So that's why it's important, if you can't visually see it, to actually just follow the volume formula of length times width times height. In this next problem, similar thing again. I'm going to go through my length, my width, and my height. Again, I have 3 units, 2, and 2 units again as my height. Again, you can count how many cubes you see for your length, count how many cubes you see for your width and your height. So now here we can do 3 times 2 times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, and again you can write it as 12 cubic units, 12 units cubed. Those are all correct answers here. Now notice here this person put 11. I'm seeing this often as well. Make sure what you do in your paper is exactly what you write in as your answer. So even though you did all the work correctly on your paper, you have to make sure you're typing in that correct answer as well to prevent little mistakes from happening, because even though you might have it right on your paper, the computer is still going to mark it wrong. So now for this next one here, again, make sure you're fully counting your length, your width, and your height. It's asking you for what is the volume of the rectangular prism. Now I noticed some of you put 19, maybe 20 as well. That's because all you did was count the cubes that you see. But notice the cubes that you see do not fill in the entire rectangular prism. Therefore, you need to figure out what is the volume, how many cubes you need to fill this entire rectangular prism is the volume, because volume is how much space is in an object. So now we're going to count the length. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My width is 3, and now my height is 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's still another cube underneath there that we don't see. So my height is actually 5 units. So now to find my volume, I'm going to take 5 times 5 times 3. So now once I do 5 times 5, I have 25 times 3, which is 75. And again, we have 75 cubes, 75 units cubed, 75 cubic units are all correct answers here. For this problem, we're going to do the same thing. Again, make sure you determine what my length, my width, and my height is for the volume, because the question asks what is the volume of the rectangular prism. So notice they didn't give you all the cubes. You have to be able to count all the cubes inside of this rectangular prism, even though it's not given to you. So therefore, you can follow the volume formula. You're not just counting however many cubes you see. That doesn't fill the entire given rectangular prism. So my length here is 4, my width is is 3, and my height here, for this height, I can see all the cubes that create my height. So we have 1, 2, 3 cubes here. I'll just put the height here as 3. So now again, I'm going to do 3 times 4 times 3. That's all I'm going to do. My length times my width times my height. 3 times 4 is 12 times 3, and 12 times 3 is 36 units cubed. Could have been right. Okay, notice here we have options here. Be careful what options you're selecting and making sure that you actually multiply the length times your width times your height in these problems. Now here we have a word problem given to us. It says a carton of juice is 15 centimeters long, 5 centimeters wide, and 20 centimeters tall. What is the volume of the carton? A carton of juice is a rectangular prism. Therefore, I can do the volume equals my length times my width times my height. So my volume here is 15 centimeters long. My width is 5 centimeters, and my height is 20 centimeters. Notice I replaced this all together. Okay, all I did was substitute my length with 15, substitute my width with 5, substitute my height with 20. And when you multiply all three of those numbers, in fact, you do get 1,500 cubic inches as your correct answer. So just be very, very careful when you are multiplying, making sure. I know this person might have selected 1,200 as a close estimate, and you are in the right region, but you have to be very, very careful to not make mistakes when you're multiplying, when you are solving this problem. So even though it's a word problem, once you realize they're asking you for volume and you're given the length, the width, and the height, all you have to do is multiply the length times the width times the height to help you find the volume of the given rectangular prism. So during today's activities, please review this video at any time, going through common mistakes so you don't make those mistakes again today. We learn from our mistakes to help us improve, to help us get better with finding the volume of rectangular prisms.